Welcome to today's Next Experience Academy. It is session number 23. We're going to be covering the Horizon Design System. My name is Maria Gabriela Ochoa Perez Wechter. I'm a senior outbound product manager, and I am working on the Agent Experiences team. And joining me today is...
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Brian Zeich. I'm a principal inbound product manager at ServiceNow, and I focus on design systems.
Thank you. Welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Shaylee, and thank you, Stacy, as well. They're going to be in the Q&A answering questions. Let's get into some housekeeping real quick. Like I just said, make sure to use Q&A for questions. It helps me gather them all up after the session and post them on the community post for future reference. Please use the chat for comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, how you're doing today, what you're drinking. And this session is being recorded, and the slides and video will be made available afterwards. Expect about a week. We also are going to go over what to expect. These sessions are for you. I have awesome professionals here today with me, SMEs in their fields, and they are here to answer your questions. So feel free to ask questions, interact. We're going to be showing you guys a live demo. And don't forget that our next session is November 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Now, 2 quick research opportunities. Number 1, feel free to share this with anybody who you know uses UIB or UI Builder. It's a UI Builder User Experience Survey 2024. I'm going to post a link in the chat. We're looking for anybody with any level of experience in UI Builder for the past year. Please let us know what your experience has been and help shape the future of the product. Additionally, more topic specific, we have the Horizon Design System survey. This one is about the Horizon Design System, and we're looking for participants who build ServiceNow experiences, whether it be for workspace, portal, or mobile. And we're looking for your thoughts and feedback. Please give us a survey responses, which will directly help us to prioritize future features for the Horizon Design System. I'm going to put that link also in the chat, and that should take you to a listening post survey. And now the safe harbor notice. A lot of you may be familiar with this, but please, we are product managers, which means we're going to be talking about future looking statements. We're going to be talking about things that are coming down the line, things in the future pipeline of our product and on the roadmap. And you should only make purchasing decisions on what is readily available in general availability /GA. Don't make any purchasing decisions based off of any forward-looking statements that we're going to make today. And let's go ahead and turn it over to Brian.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be able to talk with you all today. And as I mentioned, my name is Brian Zeich, and I am the product manager for the Horizon Design System. And as previously mentioned, I'm joined by a few members of our team who can help answer any questions that come up as I go through. What I'm going to do is share my screen, and I've got some presentation slides that I'll go through about the Horizon Design System. And then from there, I'm actually going to give an interactive demo of the forthcoming changes and updates, enhancements to the website for the design system. You can already access a version of the website today. I'll go through all the details about that. But coming soon, within the next few weeks, you'll be able to see a whole lot more that should make it extremely easy to create amazing experiences on the ServiceNow platform. And with that, I'm going to share my screen. I wanted to check to make sure everybody can see it.
We can see it.
All right, perfect. All right, great. Well, our story with the Horizon Design System really starts with this statement. There have been many efforts over the years to empower people who create ServiceNow experiences so that you can have a single place, a single resource where you can get all of the information that you need to design and build great experiences on the ServiceNow platform. However, we have heard loud and clear the feedback that there are many places to look. There are different websites, there's our community, there are different websites such as the developer portal, and it's very difficult to piece those things together. And so with that problem in mind, we are seeking to address that by creating a truly useful, centralized, single source of design truth. Now, that means that whether you come from a technical background, perhaps you're an engineer or you're an administrator of ServiceNow instances, you may be a designer with your background, or you may also be a product manager or a quality engineer. We aspire to have Horizon and our design system built around it as this place that if you create anything on ServiceNow, you can use this design system. A design system is not necessarily a new concept. You'll see it out in the world in many different places. And this quote from a senior UI and UX designer who builds on ServiceNow really hones in on the value of a design system. So this person says that the platform's design system is the first thing that they reference when they try to reverse engineer the product so that they can design for and with that product or platform. And it's also really important to understand the intent. So what are some of the best ways of creating amazing experiences? What might be some practices, some recommendations, guidelines that I, as somebody who creates on ServiceNow, can use to make sure that my experiences are amazing, but they're also accessible, that they're powerful, that they're not confusing. And that is really what we're seeking to solve. Our vision is to provide a unified cross-platform design system for ServiceNow that empowers and inspires all ServiceNow creators to innovate at the speed and scale that you require to meet the needs of your users. Now, it is true that we have multiple different areas of the product. And one question that you may have is when we say unified cross-platform design system, well, what does that mean? I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail in the next slide. But we are treating Horizon as an umbrella of sorts. It is true that we have multiple different areas, but the goal for Horizon is still the same, that this is that single source of design truth that includes guidelines, components in one place, other tools and resources, everything that you need to create amazing ServiceNow experiences. And no matter if you're working within a workspace or a service portal, maybe on our native mobile app, or even our core UI experiences, things that have been in the product for many years at this point, that Horizon is the first place that you go to get the answers about how you should design and build those experiences. And I'm going to dig into a little bit more about what that means. So Horizon is for you if you design or configure any experience on ServiceNow. So any of those different touch points that I mentioned on the previous slide. And in the future as well, new types of experiences that are on the ServiceNow platform. Horizon will evolve over time. It's not meant to be a static area. It's not that we're just going to release the design system and its website and then that's it, right? This is a living area and we are constantly updating it with new improvements and new coverage for components and patterns and guidelines and things like that. Horizon is for you if you want to find the best component or page template or modal design or anything at all for a specific problem. For instance, you may say, okay, well, I need to place an activity stream inside my ServiceNow experience. Horizon includes extensive information and examples, interactive playgrounds for the activity stream, as well as something as simple as a button or a form that has a bunch of fields that people may fill out in order to provide you with information through ServiceNow. Horizon is that place to find the right solution for your problem. Horizon is also for you if you're interested in learning about accessibility, generative AI and how it works on ServiceNow, and even design methods, things that you can apply in your work to collaborate with your teams, to conduct some user research, to make sure that your experiences are really resonating with your users on ServiceNow. And finally, the whole purpose of a design system, above all else, is to solve the simple problems simply. That means that you shouldn't have to worry about what type of button to use for this use case. You shouldn't have to worry about which form field works best for collecting a certain type of information. We want to up-level your work and empower you so that you can innovate on ServiceNow. You can think more about the user flows, how people get through the different applications that are on ServiceNow, rather than just trying to solve the same problem over and over again. That is how we intend to continue empowering creators to innovate at scale using the Horizon Design System. Now, where we are today, we actually launched a website for the Horizon Design System at horizon.servicenow.com, and we'll provide that in the chat as well. That actually launched back in May, centered around our Knowledge 24 conference. Now, this was just an early introduction to the Horizon Design System. And it was meant to be that introduction to our naming and our presence on the web. It had a limited set of components, about 60, but also some patterns. So things such as how you can use alerts in ServiceNow to give important information to your users, as well as usage guidelines and some other important resources, such as links to our user experience special interest group and some Figma libraries, so that you can do design work on ServiceNow with the libraries that we provide. However, this was just a starting place. What's there now today is that we do have a getting started area that has our design principles, key resources, and an overview of our different app frameworks, things such as Workspace, native mobile, service portals, and core UI. But this is still just the start. And what I'll go through in the next few slides is how we're expanding on this getting started and actually building out a whole area for all of these different areas of our product. There's also foundations, so universal guidelines for accessibility, AI, content design, colors, our icon library. It's all in one place. And as I mentioned, we had about 60 core Next Experience components that started on the website with usage guidelines, interactive examples, and we're expanding on that in a big way coming up soon too. We also had some patterns. I mentioned alerts, how you use cards. This is a very common way of organizing information on any user experience that is within ServiceNow. And as I mentioned, we had links to Figma libraries, fonts, design resources, things like that. However, we're just getting started. And I wanted to give you a sneak peek into what is launching later this month. We are starting with a full set of components. So all of those Next Experience components will be on the website. So that's around 170 that are public Next Experience components. And also, we are adding support for those other app frameworks. So for instance, native mobile. We have our native mobile team that is providing analogous components and usage guidelines and things like that, that allow you to understand how our native mobile apps work for iOS and Android. We are also introducing component categories. This is going to be amazing because in time, this will match up with UI Builder and how that is laid out in the toolbox so that what you see on our design system will match one-to-one with how you can use those components inside UI Builder and other building experiences within the platform. And there's also a filter capability to find components faster, and I'm going to include that in my demo later. We also have our app frameworks in the top menu. So native mobile, service portal, core UI, as well as workspace. They're all accessible through that top menu. And for each one of those areas, and this will still be an evolving process in response to feedback that we get from all of you and from everybody who creates and designs on ServiceNow, we'll continue to add and build out more app framework basics, page templates, additional patterns, and documentation. Again, it's all going to be in one place at one web address that you can go and you can find all of that. Now, one question that we also get very often is, well, developer.servicenow.com. That has our Next Experience components, and it has other resources for designers and for engineers who are also looking at building and creating these experiences on ServiceNow. Well, we absolutely acknowledge that. And we know that the developer portal has served the community for years, and it is not going away. However, with a full component library, the Horizon website will soon offer all of those next experience components. So everything that you'll be able to find today on the developer portal next experience components area, but it will also provide so much more. So all those other things that I've talked about, those common patterns, the usage guidelines, the interactive examples with code samples, all that is on the Horizon website. And so over time, we absolutely are hoping that the Horizon website can be that single source of design truth. And certainly the role of the developer portal will continue to be there, and it may evolve over time, but this is not something where we intend to leave anybody hanging. It's really a matter of pulling in all of the amazing content that you've been able to leverage for your work today, and then building on top of that so that you can truly use Horizon in concert with the developer site to do your work. And over time, as I mentioned, we will be updating the Horizon website very frequently, ensuring accurate and timely information for you. Now, into the roadmap. So I mentioned for this last quarter of the year, for Q4, so we are adding comprehensive coverage for Workspace and the native mobile app frameworks. That's just the starting place. There will be some coverage for Service Portal and Core UI, but we will expand that moving into next year. I mentioned the Workspace Components Library, essentially the next experience components, and those have full usage guidelines and playground examples. We will soon also have API documentation, similar to what you can find on the developer portal, and UIB usage guidelines so that you can have all that in one place. So you look at the design guidelines and our interactive examples, and then you can also flip over to how to use it. And there's also guidelines for cross-platform ServiceNow design. I've mentioned tools and methods, AI accessibility, content design, that's all there. Moving into next year, we really will continue to build Horizon as a key resource for all of you, and also think about how we can plug Horizon into different experiences on the ServiceNow platform. So we'll obviously continue to refine the Horizon content based on all of the great user feedback that we're already collecting. We've just looked at a survey that's one of the key areas where you can help give us feedback on what would be most helpful for you, what problems you encounter as you're trying to figure out the best way to design a great experience on ServiceNow. But we're also looking at integrating with in-product experiences. I mentioned UI Builder. Our vision is that while you are using a tool such as UI Builder on the ServiceNow platform, that you can see Horizon content in line, that you don't need to go to a separate website, that you can see even examples and the usage guidelines, the do's and don'ts for a particular component that you might even be using within UI Builder. As I mentioned, we're also going to have comprehensive coverage moving into next year for the Service Portal and Core UI app frameworks. We've got teams at ServiceNow that are feverishly working on that, building that content out so that we can release it to the world and provide that as a starting place. With Service Portal in particular, we certainly have heard about the many amazing customizations that have happened on service portals. We will provide some basics in getting started, and over time, we'll continue to collect feedback on what would be most helpful to share across the entire community of ServiceNow creators for those areas. And then what's also amazing is we're starting with some interactive examples for every one of those next experience components. But we're also looking at expanding that functionality moving into next year. And we've got some ideas that we're looking at right now for even entire pages and experiences that can have interactive examples, and they can have different configuration options that allow you to see different permutations. So for instance, when you're looking at something like the activity stream, you can see a series of different options that you can turn on and off. You can set different properties on it, and you can see how it will reflect to figure out, is this what I need for the user problem that I'm trying to solve for? So it's all about making this the most effective, useful resource that you have across all of our app frameworks to be able to create amazing experiences. Now, I've got a demo, and I wanted to walk through the upcoming updates to the Horizon website. So you all are actually going to see something that hasn't gone live yet, but this will soon go live within the next few weeks. And this one is where the website is headed. So as I mentioned, what you see at horizon.servicenow.com is a subset of what I will look through with you today.
We have a question from the Q&A.
Mhm.
Heather asks, many ServiceNow implementations are multilingual. Will the Horizon design system have anything for implementations in other languages?
Yes. So from both a content design perspective, we do have internationalization guidelines that will be part of the Horizon website. And also for people who may be connecting from different areas, we are also thinking about actually having localized content in the future on the website. So long story short, absolutely, that's one form of the guidelines that we want to provide to our creators on how you can design for people across multiple languages and locales. And then for the website itself too, we'll be looking into internationalization for that.
Thank you.
For sure. Any other questions right now that we should go
Not
through?
so far.
Okay. All right. Well, let's look at the website. So I'm going to switch over to an instance of the Horizon website. Now, again, this is a forthcoming version of the Horizon site, but it's laid out in a very similar fashion. As I mentioned, we've built out a few new top-level areas of the site for these app frameworks. And I'm just going to walk through a few of these pages and explain their purpose and call out some really awesome capabilities that we see here. So when we first go to the website, we have, you can already see that we're embedding motion into our experience. And this, by the way, is something that we're also looking at holistically across ServiceNow, animation and motion that supports usability, that doesn't get in the way or distract. It's subtle and it's constrained. But you can already see that we're doing that with the Horizon website itself. And so we've got our top banner that introduces Horizon. There's a Get Started button, which when I click that will direct you to another part of the website that allows you to learn all about Horizon, look at our design principles. If you're coming in from a design background, there's a dedicated page about how to design for ServiceNow. However, if you're doing development work and you want to learn the best ways of creating these experiences on the platform, there's also a dedicated page for developers or engineers. And then an overview of our app frameworks. I'm going to click on the logo in the top left, which is a great way to go back to the homepage at any time. And I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more on the homepage. As I mentioned, the introduction of 4 app frameworks is fundamental to these new changes to the Horizon website. So here you can see an overview of those 4. And so this helps you to figure out which area might I work within most commonly. Now, what we have heard from people in actually thinking through the design of this update to the website, we have heard of people who work within just one of these 4 areas, such as Service Portal. But we've also heard of people who might work across different app frameworks. They might work on some of their workspaces using UI Builder, and they might also have a Service Portal or use some of our core UI experiences from UI 16 and different things like that. These are all in one place. If you have any questions about which app framework might be right for you, there's also a link to a page that goes through what each one of those are. So you can see an example of a workspace here and native mobile. Now, the way that these pages are laid out, we've got a top header, usually on every page. We have a left menu, which is within the top level area of the site. So we try to make it as easy to navigate the Horizon Design System website as possible. And on the right side, if there are different sections to the page, you'll see this especially with the components area. You can use this as a wayfinder to jump quickly to those parts of the website. And each one of these has a unique permalink URL. So if you want to bookmark this and jump back to that specific section, you can do that at any time. I'm going to go back to the homepage and we'll keep scrolling down. So we've got Workspace, Native Mobile, Service Portal, and Core UI. What we also have is some callouts across the whole website that might be helpful just as a starting place or as a quick reference. So we'll update this over time, and we're collecting usage feedback from people to figure out what are the most important things that we want to highlight right on the homepage. So right now we're highlighting the welcome, the AI, the accessibility, and the word guideline. And then we've also got links to the design page, to our design principles. If you want to just go and use Figma, we've got a direct link to our main Figma design kit and also the develop page. And again, these will change over time, and you can see that they have delightful little animations when you hover over them.
Speaking
Now,
about the animations,
mhm,
we got a great piece of feedback slash question in the Q&A right now. If you're
mhm,
introducing animation, are you also maintaining accessibility to help those with vision disabilities or who may be overstimulated? Which
mhm.
is something I never thought about personally. Because yeah, with my ADHD, if I was trying to work and it was just
Mhm.
sparkly animations everywhere, it would be kind of
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that we are thinking about right from the beginning with all of this. So within the product, and this is something that I can't comment right now on specific plans for this, but what I will say is that when we are looking at motion across the design system, we are looking at not only options to reduce or turn off motion for people who for one reason or another don't want to or shouldn't see the animations, and also we are trying to design this thoughtfully. We are not trying to overpower people with motion. So different things that are subtle. It might be a subtle flash of a background color to indicate that there's new updates to an activity stream, for instance. Or it might be a page transition. So when you click on a button, you can have a sliding panel. Again, not like a really forced animation, but just a subtle animation to show you where it came from. And we are inspired from other companies that have already been incorporating motion into their products and also providing flexibility so that you can reduce the motion if desired, and you can even turn it off completely if that's
We've
what
got
makes sense.
another additional question about animation. What about where those of us who might live in Podunk, USA, where internet
Mhm.
service is iffy and
Mhm.
animation might make it slower? Have you guys thought any considerations towards that?
Absolutely. So again, and I'm talking about things that are a little bit forward looking, but one of the things that we're also considering as we're thinking about motion across the design system is performance. Performance is a key pillar, just like accessibility. On the performance front, there are two things that I wanted to call out. One, we are absolutely performance testing every form of animation or motion that we are thinking about incorporating into components or pages, experiences, things like that. And it is our goal to not slow down, to not eat up bandwidth, things like that. It is true that there is often some form of an impact where it's something that we need to thoughtfully load. And so one of the patterns that we are also thinking about with motion in general is progressive disclosure or progressive loading. And so it's not that this would load all at once. It would only load in response to some area of ServiceNow that you are actively using. And we also pre-cache certain aspects of this so that when you get to that part, there's not any type of slowdown. One thing that's really cool as part of this that again we're just looking at right now is nothing specific that I can share about this today, but we are also looking at how can we prioritize certain parts of the page to load dynamically so that the perceived performance in some cases actually seems higher or sorry, a lower performance load times, right? So it seems more performant because motion, as we've seen in other experiences, can actually give you almost like a breather before the content loads in. And it can make you feel like the overall application is even more responsive. So we've got some great people thinking about motion, and they are applying the science to this as well as engineering is looking at the performance considerations.
It sounds like you guys have a lot of bases covered. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to take any more questions that are here right now, but I also have plenty more to show you as well. So,
We're good to continue on.
okay. All right, great. So let's look at the top menu, and I'm going to just provide a simple walkthrough of each one of these sections and what they are for. Getting started. I already showed this, but this is the starting point to learn about what Horizon is, to get started, whether you're a designer or a developer or somebody else as well. There's a welcome page here that explains what Horizon is, the different parts of the website, and who it's for. We also have our design principles. And these are things that are more for peace of mind and food for thought. So these are the design principles that we use when we approach ServiceNow. So it needs to be fluid. It needs to be symphonic. So we harmonize all of the different elements on the screen and not have anything try to compete for attention. And also it needs to resonate with people. So certainly user research and bringing our insights into everything that we design, every touch point is something that we try to do all the time. And this is something that we encourage you to do as well when you're thinking about designing experiences. I'm going to jump over to the next section, which is guidelines. Now, because Horizon is a unified design system centralized in one place, what we are looking at is what is global, no matter if you're using Workspace or Service Portal or native mobile or Core UI, any of our builder experiences, things like that. And accessibility principles, AI principles, words and content design, those are all universal. So those are elevated to the guidelines area. On the left side, if I have different pages inside of those sections, I see this drop-down arrow and I can click over to those at any time. So if I want to look at designing for AI, we have a dedicated page here. And we have links to the responsible AI guidelines and different questions that you should ask when you're thinking about any incorporation of generative AI, such as Now Assist, into your experiences. Then we get into the app frameworks. So the first one is Workspace. Within Workspace, this is where the component library and the foundations have moved with this refresh to the website. So on the Workspace area, this includes our productivity workspaces, and you can see an example of the layout here. And so this overview really looks at the personas and the common use cases. But then we get into the real nuts and bolts of putting together a workspace. So we have an area called Basics, and this is going to be common across all 4 of these app frameworks. So you go into Basics, you can see the structure of a workspace. And we've got these supportive illustrations to show how we have our unified navigation, our app shell, and our page layouts that constitute these workspaces. And again, all this information will stay up to date as we get new changes that we are releasing to the world on how this works. You can see examples. So for instance, we have our customer service management configurable workspace. We have our software assets workspace, dispatcher, and you can see plenty more examples of these workspaces. And we also have resources for this. Under foundations, this covers everything from data visualization for workspaces, our color palettes that we use, both primary and secondary colors, and how to use color. It also includes an expansive icon library, and this is great. So you have all of the icons, the 100 or so icons that are available within our icon library. And you have this common pattern where across different galleries, I can type the names such as camera, and I can find the 2 icons that have camera in the name. I can also have options for filling or outline versions of them. And for each one of these icons, I can copy the name that we use within ServiceNow for that icon. I can download a PNG version or an SVG version of that. So even if I'm using something like Figma, I can know which icon to get to quickly. And then we also have spacing and typography guidelines, and everything is in one place. Under
As an ex
patterns,
service as an ex
what's that?
service portal developer, the icons library is kind of really exciting for me. This is something that I wish I had had like years ago, because anytime customers would be like, "Well, what icons does ServiceNow use?" I kind of would just look around like, "I don't know." This is
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, even as we add more icons in the future, they'll be here. And we've got a whole bunch of really cool automation set up under the surface to make sure that we're always pulling in the latest for every family release of ServiceNow.
And Muhammad also agrees in the chat. They've been waiting for this for years. It's like a Google's material design.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're inspired by material as well as other design systems that are out in the world. But again, we're trying to do everything in a way that best works for ServiceNow. And so that's where the concept of surfacing all the app frameworks came from. And really just not dancing around that there are a lot of things that ServiceNow does and includes. And regardless of where you're working, where you're designing, we want to empower you. So that's great to hear that feedback about the icon library. And then we get into components, and components works the same way. We have a massive list of components. These are the 170 or so odd components. This matches the developer portal under Next Experience Components. So for instance, if I typed in button, I can find our different versions of buttons. I also have a category dropdown where we're starting to categorize our components. So you can see navigation components. You can see form components. So like radio button is there. But then I can see all of the form components in one place. And I can also see which release it's compatible with. So that's another dropdown that we have here. And we'll expand on our release compatibility and offering different release guidelines and things like that moving into next year. If I click on, for instance, dropdown, this is an example of a component page, and they're all laid out in a pretty similar way. I can see the record for Figma, for instance, and you'll be able to go and click on that to go directly to our Figma libraries for it. And then we have an interactive, it's called a playground. And so this is a real working version of the component. This is something that in many cases, the developer portal site did not have. It might have been a picture of a component or something like that. Here, you can see its properties. If there are different permutations of that, such as an advanced dropdown, you can also see those here in one place. And then if there are any options that you can toggle, such as setting a different icon, like I can put my camera. Let's go find the camera. Actually, I'll just select Action Fill. And now you can see that it updated the live example, and we have code down here. And so you can just copy this to your clipboard, and you can see, and it will be reflected as you interact with the playground. It's really cool.
And the code is also, it's going to be mostly helpful if you're creating your own custom components using the CLI and our other libraries like that. That's what you see the code there for. But it can also help you kind of preview how you can configure these same components in UI Builder and help you build out like the object JSON up top in the properties, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, moving forward, we're even thinking about tighter integration with things like UI Builder, where you'd be able to take this from the Horizon guidelines and the examples, and then actually use it within UI Builder with just a matter of 1 or 2 clicks.
And I see a lot of positive reception for this in the chat. Once again, I'm going to link the survey link again in the chat. Please give us your feedback. Let us know where you want to see this to go, because I, as an ex-developer, I am super excited to see ServiceNow really putting this much effort into guidance for us, which is not something I had as a developer really myself very much.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And that is absolutely what we're trying to do. So this is something that won't just sit around without updates. As we get this feedback, we'll continue to iterate and improve on this website. And certainly for the design system itself, for instance, new components and things like that, that is something that pretty much the same team that is working closely on the website is also working on our component libraries and different aspects of our design system. So even the things that we're talking about with motion, for instance, when we're ready, that will go to the website and it will also be reflected across our design system. Okay, so you can use this right menu at any time to jump around the different areas. As I mentioned, this has a permalink that works similarly to the developer portal, where you could just copy and paste this, and then you could share it with somebody and they'll jump directly to that part of the page. What I'm going to do is briefly just show, with native mobile and service portal and core UI, we are actively working on those areas. but they will work very similarly to this. So they'll have basics and patterns and different, in the case of native mobile and service portal, they may be named slightly differently. So we're looking at widgets, for instance, with service portal, but that will still be in time accessible through the Horizon website as well. And then I'm going to show real quick the resources area. And so this links to our UX SIG, the special interest group, our Figma libraries, as well as learning resources. And this resources area will continue to expand over time, and there will be additional resources that we add. One of the things that I haven't looked at any time, there's a global search of the entire website. So you can go up here and you can click this. And now, for instance, I can put activity stream and I can go find that. And within one click, look at how fast it is. This website does not have the type of load times that I think people might be used to with other websites. You know, it's super fast and it caches the information intelligently so that you can get to the right information quickly. And at any time, we also have a keyboard shortcut. It's just this slash, and I can pull that up. And then if I wanted to look at, for instance, accessibility, I can type the word accessibility. It will search within the content and prioritize any pages that match directly at the top. If I wanted to, I can click this button to search all of the website, and I can see that it's already organized based on if it's within the top level guidelines area or workspace, or I've got some results from getting started down here. And so then I can just click it, and now I'm on the accessibility overview page. So,
And I just
in the
want
last,
to clarify
yep.
something in the Q&A. Horizon Design System is not something you have to purchase separately. It's not a paid product. Horizon Design System is not going to be something you need to purchase or anything like that. Brian, could you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Horizon does not require you to pay anything additional for it. So, you know, this is something that we provide as that resource through the website. And actually at horizon.servicenow.com, you can go there today. And there's no login required, there's no payment required. Like, you can get to all these resources on the website today. Now, this version of the site is what you will see currently at horizon.servicenow.com. It is designed in a very similar way. The only difference is really that we have a lot less on it right now compared to what I was just demoing. And so within a few weeks, you will see horizon.servicenow.com update with this much more expansive set of resources.
And at the moment, the Horizon Design System is not a vehicle to import different libraries into your system or anything like that. It is a design reference and development reference website where ServiceNow is working to consolidate all of our resources into, which is not something we've really had before. So again, you don't need to purchase it separately. There's no cost. It's just improvements that we're bringing to the platform and improvements to how we communicate our design system and methodology, so you can also learn and design experiences how we design our out-of-the-box experiences.
Yes, very well put. Okay. Any other questions that we can answer? I think that
I
I've
think,
gone through the main parts of the website.
is there any way that we can currently submit feedback directly to the team, Brian, or should everything still go through me?
Yeah, well, certainly that survey that we shared earlier is one way that you can send it. In the future, we will have a direct way of submitting feedback to the team. In the meantime, certainly through the Next Experience Academy and our communities, those are two major touch points. Our design enablement team is fantastic, and they engage in the special interest group and different community activities and things like that. They work on our Figma libraries, so I wanted to give them a great shout out because they are core members of the Horizon Design System team. And so any feedback that you have, you can always interact with them as well. And we'll provide additional ways to get directly to the team with your feedback. In the meantime, I'm Brian Zeich, and you can find me anywhere. So if you wanted to even ping me on communities or, you know, wherever else, LinkedIn, et cetera, like, I'm always happy to take questions.
And if you can't find any other way of getting in contact with us, contact your account team and they will be able to get a hold of us. Brian, you mentioned the design SIG. Could you show us
Mhm.
where that is on the site?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is
So
live right now.
yes. So I have now switched back to the version of the website that is currently live at horizon.servicenow.com. As I mentioned, it just has fewer bits of content right now, but it's laid out in a pretty similar fashion. It's under resources, and this will not move even with the updates that are coming to the website. So you click on resources, and there's a direct link to the special interest group. And once you go in there, you can just click this, and it will pull up the special interest group in another browser tab.
And this is just another community inside of the ServiceNow community website, just like the other forums that you might be familiar with, where you can provide feedback, you can ask questions, and things like that. We're getting close to the end of the hour, actually. If anybody has any questions, now is the time to submit them while Brian wraps up his presentation. Is there anything else you wanted to show everybody?
I think from my perspective, that's all that I wanted to show. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and walk through this with you all. And we are super excited of everything that's related to the Horizon Design System and, and its website moving forward.
Fantastic. I'm going to take over here on the slides and we're going to do our usual closing while we wait for any more questions. If you want to learn more, check out our Next Experience community, our Next Experience Center of Excellence. We've also got Next Experience and UI Builder courses on Now Learning, which has been updated beyond Utah. I just haven't updated this myself yet. Sorry. We've also got Agent Chat, Advanced Work Assignment, and other great communities on the community website. I'm posting links to the Center of Excellence that just got a awesome revamp. I'm working on revamping all of our community content right now. So throughout the end of the year, we'll be posting a lot of new and updated information. You can also check out our YouTube playlists. We've got the Conversational Interfaces Academy YouTube playlist. We've got the Next Experience Academy YouTube playlist. And that's where you can find all of these videos after they get posted. You can expect about a week or so delay between now and when it gets posted. But I just posted the link where you can catch the recording. It'll also have links to the slides so you can share with anybody that you know. We've also got You and I Builder Live. If you're interested in more technical, a more casual atmosphere as we try to develop on UI Builder and show all these awesome components, you should come join us. It's twice a month on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. And it's a lot of fun. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I like to show what development is really like. And then finally, if you're looking for more academy sessions, check out all these awesome academies run by my awesome coworkers. We've got platform, analytics, mobile. We have a new AI academy. It's going to be awesome. And here's also a QR code if you prefer QR codes with cute little dinosaurs on it. I don't think we got any more questions. So thank you so much, Brian, Shaylee, and Stacy, so much for joining us today. It was super awesome to get to see all of this. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come and share this with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really appreciate it. And we've got a very bright future ahead. Trust me, there's a lot more coming.
I am super excited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, our next session is going to be the third Wednesday in November, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern at the same time and same place. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.